The NFL Combine just wrapped up this weekend, and 9 of the top 10 players didn't participate.
Yeah, what the hell?
On Mel Kiper's big board. 9 of the
Jesus.
top 10. They weren't there. We started a pretty bad precedent the last couple years. Last year specifically, with like every single
All the top
quarterback
QBs,
prospect
yeah.
not
Everyone.
participating.
Literally everyone.
This year we had kind of a repeat, but it trickled down through not only quarterbacks, but wide receivers, running backs, defensive line. Literally no defensive linemen.
No,
were
zero.
doing it. Yeah,
I
it was
didn't
like
see.
no one. But there were some standouts from people who did participate. And honestly, I think it's a pretty good opportunity for a lot of the people in the middle or lower
Yeah, to go
tiers to go show up. Like, I want to start right at the top. Jackson Dart was the best quarterback that participated, the highest
for
rank
sure.
going into it.
Yeah.
And he did look really, really good.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Like,
he looks the part.
there were a lot of people saying they could see him over Shador. So I don't want to know what you
love
guys
that.
thought seeing Jackson Dart. He threw the ball well. He definitely looked like the best quarterback out there.
Jackson Dart was the guy I said has the highest potential in this class.
Sure.
Yep.
And I think you're seeing glimpses of it in
Little
that
bit,
combine.
little bit here and there.
A little bit here and there. I just think his frame, his arm talent, what he did in college consistently with, in my opinion, an overrated Ole Miss team that he single-handedly just would will offensively, like
Yeah.
just make things happen week after week. I think he's just a winner. I think he has like those intangibles that he just knows how to figure it out when things aren't going well. And I think that's a good quality to have. And yeah, he killed it. So
Yeah.
I mean, he's a dog. We've known this for years, though. I think most of us have been behind Jackson Dart, and we
Yeah.
haven't had many haters of Jackson Dart. So I
we're
think
pro Jackson Dart.
yeah,
on this
we're a
podcast.
pro Jackson Dart guy, But
I
I mean,
agree.
yeah, the quarterbacks as a whole, it's just rough to watch. So it's nice to see one of them do at least
Actually show up and play.
At least
Another
par
guy
with
that
it.
rose up the draft board a lot was a guy that you mentioned on our Combine episode.
Shout out Louisville.
Shout out Louisville.
Louisville quarterback Tyler Shaw. Is that how you pronounce it? Shaw?
Show or
Shaw.
whatever you want.
Well, he definitely looked the most polished of like that last tier group. He was throwing the ball really well. He's extremely tall and he's older, which they asked him questions about. And he said, a lot of quarterbacks are playing into their mid-30s. Gives me a decade to play in the league. I don't think that's going to turn any teams away.
Yeah.
yeah, I don't get that. That's the dumbest argument I've ever heard. People asking about his age, like it's a more
I mean,
experience.
Jaden Daniels was 24.
Yeah, Bo Nix, I'm sure. Is
You come in,
23,
you're
24, like,
more mature.
Yeah.
If anything, I don't know. I feel like it's probably better to have a slightly older person.
for sure.
who's-
You saw the nerves while they were throwing. It looked like all of them were tripping. Besides
yeah.
him and Jackson.
I mean,
Dart.
yeah. Quinn Ewers, had a couple bad throws. We posted a video about
That
some
was so
Quinn
funny.
Ewers propaganda.
If you want to see the most viral video ever, go check out
It
any
went
of our
pretty
channels.
viral, a couple million views across socials, and it was basically 2 bad Quinn Ewers throws, and everyone was like, "Oh, you cherry picked." It wasn't that hard to find though. You look across the board, whether it's Milroe, Will Howard, Dylan Gabriel,
Yeah.
all these guys.
Will
were having-
Howard is a different story in itself, but
Yeah, they were having trouble completing the ball. And what an interesting story I thought made no sense to me. It was Milroe's hand measurement. Did anyone see this?
How it grew?
It
Since
grew
the
an
Senior Bowl?
inch from the Senior Bowl.
That's pretty
I
sharp.
don't know if
It's good
because
to
like
know.
at the Senior Bowl they measured his hands. It was like 8 3/4, and everyone's like, "Those are small hands." And then he measured them at the combine. They're like, "Look
I'm
at these
sure.
size of these hands, 9 3/4." Like, how the fuck did that grow?
No, they undermeasured at the Senior Bowl. They knew what they were doing.
they
They're
might have
sharp.
undermeasured.
Yeah.
Under promise, over deliver.
I love that. See, that's my
Jalen
life goal right
Yeah, there were a couple.
that's my motto.
Yeah, but for quarterbacks, I don't know. I don't know if there's anyone else you wanted to mention. Those were pretty much the headliners. We know Cam and Shador didn't play.
No, the fact that there was only 4 guys that ran the 40 and at a quarterback's 3
I
guys.
think there's like 3. Yeah, there's
if
a
that,
couple.
and I don't know. It just is just.
The
It's
fact
very.
that Milroe didn't run the 40.
It's crazy because he would have blew everyone out and been probably top 10 or whatever on if he ran a high 4.3 or something.
Yeah.
Whatever he could have ran.
I was gonna say,
So dumb.
speaking of 40, Mike's not here to talk
Oh,
about
you're
the whole
so lucky.
Texas receiver.
He's so lucky.
40
Well, he's
yard
half lucky
dilemma.
because it was a win-win for him because Golden did.
Yeah, I mean, he's won the 40. The Texas receiver's done the best 40 time 2 years in a row, but it was not the receiver everyone had winning the 40. Isaiah Bond, pretty famously now, before he ran, said he's expecting to break the record 4.2 or 4.1 if he's feeling good. Goes out first time, runs a 4.41.
Just-
Final time was 4.39, which isn't bad.
It's great if you didn't talk so much shit.
Yeah,
no one had
No,
anything on Isaiah
if he
Bond.
just showed up, ran a 4.39, people are like, dude, that's a great 40.
What a
Another
great day.
another Texas
What a
wide receiver
great
who's fast
day.
and really talented,
Yeah.
maybe gonna go up in the draft stock. Now it's just a walking flame. I mean, everyone it's just a meme. I mean, his wide receiving mate that said nothing smoked him
Yeah.
and was almost the fastest 40 in the entire.
No,
combine.
Matthew Golden absolutely crushed it.
That was
and
absurd.
he looked great in the drill. I think he only ran the 40, but then he got measured and then did interviews and stuff. I don't believe he caught.
No, I don't think
Could
so.
be wrong. But he's going to be a first-round receiver, in my opinion, now. It's hard, especially with the way some of these receivers tested. Did you guys see Tez Johnson?
I mean, that's Oregon.
We
though.
all saw Tez.
Oregon never tests well.
But not even just 4.55.
He had a big broad jump.
Four. That's crazy. I mean, 4.51 second time is sure. So he's clearly he ran 240s. He's definitely in the 4.5s.
Yeah.
It wasn't like it was a fluke. 5'9", 154 pounds, and runs a 4.51 is his fastest time.
It's crazy. It feels
What's he
faster
giving
in the
you?
field.
It's a historically like if you look up Tez Johnson, Oregon Star runs historically bad 40-yard dash and combine metrics. Like
Yeah.
it was one of the worst combines I think I've ever seen for someone who claims to be a speedster. Like that's his thing. He's not a go up and catch it guy. He's 5'9",
Yeah.
and he's not gonna like out physical. I don't. What do you make of this? Because he had a great college career.
I mean, people said that maybe he was dealing with an injury. I don't know. It's just I'm just shocked.
It's really weird because he was a stud. Like, we all watched it. He was talented.
And I saw him on the field, and he was fast.
no really
like he was really fast.
something's not.
So
adding
like,
up.
I mean, the only thing I can think of, and this is and people will probably like laugh at this, but running a 40 actually like isn't as easy as people think. There's actual technique.
Yeah.
You know, there's a reason why like sprinters, you know, that's an Olympic sport.
Yeah.
Like there is actually a technique to getting off
Oh, yeah.
and fast
These guys
acceleration.
train for the
Like
40, yeah.
Isaiah Bond actually I think is the perfect example of he actually hit the fastest miles per hour out of anyone in the combine.
Yeah.
He hit over 24 miles per hour, but he only ran a 4.39. His teammate ran faster.
Yeah.
Well, how is that possible? Well, because one dude knew how to get off and accelerate faster, and you know his technique was better.
Yeah.
So I mean, it could have been that, and this would be pretty shocking if this is what it is, because Oregon's known for track. But maybe he just didn't prepare. Maybe he just thought, "I'm fast. I'll just go out and
a
run."
good point.
And he just had a bad 40.
Yeah, I mean,
That's the only thing I can think of.
I
Or
guess
he's injured.
We'll see
Like
at the
one of
pro
the two.
day. His pro day's in a couple weeks.
Yeah,
with
that'll be a
Oregon.
tell for a lot of these
So if he
guys.
runs a lot faster, maybe he will talk about it being an injury. But I think it's relevant because he's the lightest player at the whole combine out of
Yeah.
all positions. So if you're the lightest player, I mean, his projected.
I don't know how you
his,
could play
his
at
projected line was between a 4.33 and a 4.37.
Yeah.
That is so far below it. I know it's tenths of seconds and hundredths, and it's not really that crazy.
But at that speed,
But
they're
at
moving
that speed, yeah. When you're that light,
That's like
you need to be able to move that way.
almost 10 feet. Like sometimes.
Ryan, was there any receiver that jumped out to you in particular?
jumped out in the wrong way was Arian Smith. I think I don't think he was either the fifth or the sixth fastest just wide receiver in the
He was
combine.
what, 4.34?
And yeah, I think so. No, it's 4.37. I think something a little
Really?
higher.
I'll look it
Because
up.
he wasn't even top like 3 or 4 wide receivers, which I thought really hurt him. I thought he was gonna. Most of us thought he was gonna be 1 or 2.
Yeah.
Behind maybe someone would
I
have beat
did.
him out.
4.36.
4.36. So I just thought that was his only caveat. I think we've all watched him. He can't really catch the ball. His route running isn't the best. But speed, we saw it last year with Xavier Worthy. If you just have speed, maybe someone will come up and get you. To not dominate this in a way, hope maybe do it on a pro day, I think that really hurt him because that was his only thing, personally.
Yeah.
And all these wide receivers don't really, we haven't really seen a lot of wide receivers in this draft. All the high-end ones aren't performing, so.
Yeah, there was a couple in that middle group that jumped out to me, not just strictly because of speed, but I thought Eric Ayominor, the guy from Stanford, he impressed me the most. He ran a 4.44, which is really good
He's
for
huge.
being
Especially at that size.
6'2" and a half, 210 pounds, 38 and a half vertical and 10.7 broad jump. He just looked good. He caught passes. That's just very NFL receiver style. So I think in the second round,
Checked
you're
off
getting
all
a
the
really,
boxes,
you're getting a really good receiver there. The guy who actually impressed me the most was Jalen Noel from Iowa State.
yeah.
He looked, both the Iowa State guys
Both of them did,
looked
yeah,
crazy. But, I mean, oh my God, did these stats just jump out. 41 and a half inch vertical, 11'2" broad jump, 4.39 40.
Yeah, he was, that's crazy.
Like, those stats
Yeah.
are
killed
insane.
it.
And then Dante Thornton, 6'5",
He's a dog.
4.3 40-yard dash.
That's crazy.
Total list of people ever 6'5" or above to run below a 4.35
Megatron.
is one person.
Just-
just Dante
Just
Thornton.
him. I was about to
Oh,
say.
really?
Yeah, it's
I mean, that's crazy.
It's-
Being that tall and running that
and it's
fast.
weird
Doesn't
because
make
it's
That's the Colorado State guy?
no
Or that's
Tennessee.
Horton. Sorry.
Thornton is Tennessee.
Thornton is
Tennessee.
Tennessee.
Horton is
That's
the other guy. But
Colorado
yeah,
State.
he never. This guy. The reason you don't really know him is because he did really nothing in
He
college.
didn't do anything.
He
Just
played
a
for
deep
4
ball, and that's
years.
it.
He had only one season with over 20 catches, and that was his senior year, where he had 26 receptions for 661 and 6 touchdowns. So
There's nothing.
pretty pedestrian career
hey,
in college, but tested out of the world.
That's
Freak
how you do it.
athlete.
Yeah, no, freak athlete. And I want to move to the rest of the players. Running backs. I know we had Ashton Genty sit out. And Dylan Sampson, for some reason, one of you guys please explain to me why he didn't run the 40.
I mean, he has been dealing with a really bad injury that he might just do for pro day if
Maybe
he wants a little more time.
That was his thing, though.
be comfortable.
Like
No, I
this
know.
running back class is freaking stacked.
No, I agree.
Especially
It is
after this combine. You're looking at these guys, you're like, dude, I can get someone in the 6th round.
No, you don't need it. You
That's
can just
insane.
wait. You missed. Wait.
And
missed,
Dylan
wait.
Sampson, that was his selling point. You were talking. I
Yeah.
remember you talked about it before, and you were like, "I'm really excited to see him run." He didn't run. Do you think that's going to hurt him at all?
I think if he runs at the pro day, then I think he'll be okay.
Fair enough. That's probably true across
if
the
he-
board for these guys.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's true.
I think this running back class is really deep. I don't think anyone's really freaking out if someone sits out for a 40. If they sit out like for the combine and the 40, then maybe
Combine and pro day.
combine and
Yeah,
pro
yeah.
day. Then I think maybe it's like, okay, alarms start going off. Like, why can't this guy run a 40-yard dash? Like, is there an injury that he's not like? Is it worse than what he's making it out to be?
Is he pulling an Abdul Carter?
And
Yeah,
Abdul-
sharp.
No, I'm just
Trying
saying.
to get to the Eagles.
Yeah, Abdul Carter, like saying he has a shoulder injury, and then now he might need hip surgery or like
Yeah,
something.
and then, like,
he just
surgery on
keeps
his
posting.
foot.
Yeah, he keeps
Yeah.
posting like Philadelphia
Keeps
memes.
dropping,
He does not
dropping.
give a. He wants to go drafted 30th overall to the Eagles.
Him and
at
Myles
32nd.
Garrett, you know. it'd be great.
He's like, how can I tank my draft stock?
Yeah,
he's like,
it-
they got me going one.
Sharp.
I need to
Who
go.
was the
30
guy with the
first.
gas mask back in the day?
Oh, the offensive
Laramie
lineman.
Tunsil.
Larry
Yeah.
Tunsil.
That was lit.
supposed to be like top 2 or 3 overall.
The
and
day
some
before,
Trump.
just has the scramble, just smoke,
just gets leaked, and then
So funny.
and he's
Oh,
been
that's sharp.
killing it.
No, it's
Yeah,
amazing.
He's had a great career.
Ryan, what did you see in the running back class there?
I mean, Bayshaw Tootin, he ran
Virginia Tech.
Yeah, Virginia Tech got by.
I mean, it's the best combine in the history of running back.
No, I haven't seen. No, he ran. I had it. He ran the fastest 40 as a running back, 4.32, fifth fastest in the whole combine,
Yep.
and was the 7th best vertical and the best running back, which is absurd. As a
Did you
running back.
see his vertical jump was the best for running backs?
Yeah, best
Yeah.
running back, and
And then his broad jump was tied for second in running
Yeah,
backs,
against
and his
Quinton.
40-yard was first in running backs.
For-
and I was like thinking about it, I was like, wasn't this guy good in college? I look, he had 1160 rushing yards, 15 touchdowns last year.
no, he's a freak. He's also with speed. I mean, if you're this athletic going to the NFL, especially as a running back, I think people are going to love you. A pass catching guy too. He's really good. I thought he jumped off the cliff. I mean, especially all these guys in the middle of the pack right now. There's like the top heavy ones that people like if you like Genty, if you like
Quinshawn, Amarion,
Then there's the middle of the pack where these guys can go anywhere from like 3rd to 6th round. Whoever jumps off the page or people like. This guy might be one of them, in my opinion. So
The guy that I thought, and he was kind of one of my sleepers that I mentioned was Jaden Blue, and I thought he had a really good combine.
yeah,
as
he
well.
looked good. He ran quick.
Yeah, no, he ran a lot, not a lot better, but he ran kind of what I anticipated,
What'd he
maybe
run?
slightly
He's
better.
smooth.
Yeah, he's really smooth.
think it was around
like,
that.
It was like high 4.3s, I think.
I think it was 3.7 area. But
Jaden Blue, blah, blah, blah.
No, he did really well, and I think he's going to be a steal. He just reminds me kind of like that, like Kamara-ish. Like he's just smooth,
He's
coming
smooth,
out of the
and he catches the
backfield.
ball very well out of the
Catches the ball very well. You know.
Oh, Jaden Blue was sub 4.4, yeah.
Yeah.
That's pretty good.
He was quick.
Yeah, no, he's really good. He had the fastest 40 for a while until the one guy beat
Yeah,
him.
yeah,
two-
But I
yeah.
think he may have been honestly second or third fastest.
Probably. I mean, 4.32 is absurd.
Yeah, I mean, a guy testing like this, it's kind of different. This is a completely different thing, in my opinion, from like Dante Thornton at Tennessee, where you'll have the guys that test off the charts and their physicals look crazy. You're like, oh, he had his best season ever after playing 4 years was
Nothing
26
crazy,
receptions.
yeah.
Like, how can he handle a workload? You have a running back that's rushed for 1,160 yards last
No, he
year, 15
carried
touchdowns,
that
and he
Virginia
puts
Tech
up
team.
these stats. So you're like, you can probably
could
handle the
just be good.
workload. But yeah,
Yeah.
maybe he's really good.
Also, again, like you said, you get these guys in the 6th round. I mean, it's just
yeah,
goals.
I'd be shocked
If
if
you
he goes,
swing and miss, you lose nothing.
Yeah, you can try again in the 7th, or if you get him in the 4th.
Totally.
You know?
And I think really Marion Hampton and Quinshawn Junkins both solidified themselves as top 5 running backs.
Yeah.
They just tested well. Both ran mid 4.4s for the 40, enough to be top 5 running backs
Yeah,
overall.
they'll be fine.
On the defensive side, I want to take credit for the biggest defensive standout
Yeah.
of the week.
That was
You
so
sniped
sharp.
it.
Nick Emanwari, I talked about it on the show. I made a TikTok about it. I thought he would test off the charts and really rise up draft
He really
boards,
did.
and he completely did. 6'3", 220, weighing in, 43-inch vertical, 4.38 40-yard dash time at safety.
That's absurd.
Absolutely insane. Him and Malachi Starks, in my opinion, were close together. I still think Malachi Starks would get drafted high. I actually think this guy goes ahead of him. Malachi Starks, his vertical was 33 inches. It was really subpar.
Yeah, it wasn't great.
Malachi Starks is a good player. We watched him play on the
Yeah,
field
he's-
at
he's
Georgia. We know
talented
he's
for
great.
sure.
But I'm just
I
saying,
love how like a 33-inch vertical is like so subpar.
Yeah, and
It's like nearly like 3 feet off.
and for
Well, for like
for safety
for certain
too,
people.
a lot of it's hitting and like IQ.
Yeah.
it's not as like much corner where you're not deflecting.
Yeah, you
as
can be-
many
and
Oh,
there's
times.
not
You
too
can
many
still-
times that you're just like stand still
Yeah,
jumping.
straight
like
vert,
you're like
totally.
on a sprint half the time.
Totally.
Like,
I love Malachi Starks, but
Yeah.
I think this guy, Nick, will end up going. I said top 17, 15. He might go for sure like top 15 now.
damn, that'd
maybe
be,
a
that'd be
little
crazy.
earlier.
That'd be a crazy jump.
I know. He was like
That'd be
in
sharp.
he was in like early, maybe first round before the combine.
Yeah, I saw even early second round for that's crazy. That'd be sharp.
I have a feeling like it's going to come out. Was there anyone on defense that jumped out to you guys? But I know a lot of these defensive guys sat out.
I mean, Michael's not here, but he sniped Darren Porter from Iowa
Yeah.
State, who
Yeah.
looked like a freak everywhere, and
Dude,
that's what you
Iowa
want.
State across the board.
No, I mean
they got some athletes over there.
I know they got some. Everyone was saying about like Scatabo and stuff. He's one of the worst like looks of the draft so far of all these cornerbacks and wide receivers and stuff. But I don't know. I just think that Darren Porter ran so fast and he jumped well. He looked good in drills, and I just think as a cornerback, there's a small like room of cornerbacks in this draft. Normally, there's a lot more, I think. And he put his name on the board. He can go late first round. A lot of these cornerbacks do, so I like him a lot.
Yeah. What about you? Anyone in particular that we didn't mention?
No, you guys. I mean, you sniped it. The guy that
Nick Manwari.
Nick and Worry. That was the one. I mean, you made a TikTok about it as well. Go check it out.
Yeah.
But I just remember when I saw the tweet before you even like made a video, I was like, wait, isn't this the guy that Tyler? And then
No,
literally
so
it's like 2 seconds later in the group chat, I was like, I sniped it, and I was like,
That was so sharp.
No, I was watching them test. I was like, this is crazy. But just for general takeaways, and then we can move on, talk about, in the next coming weeks, pro days. We're also getting into March Madness a lot. We're going to have a lot of content coming out, so stay tuned for that. But I feel like this combine is becoming similar to the Pro Bowl in the way where it's not only less exciting. I know this
it's
is
definitely in a bad trend.
I know it's not for excitement also. Pro Bowl is strictly
Yeah,
for excitement, so that's a lot different. This is for teams to get more information.
Yeah.
But it's the trend we've seen in the NFL. This is a larger thing. This also has a lot to do with college football as well. With
just in
players
sports
opting
in
out in
general.
sports in general. Yeah. But, these players, especially the top end ones, are really thinking, as long as I don't do something bad, I'll be fine.
Yeah.
And I feel like the only way this ever really changes is if people start getting actually punished. Not like really punished, but just don't get drafted if you don't go to the combine.
Or make it mandatory.
Which is tough because
Or
if it's
like
the best
this.
players that don't, like if Caleb Williams sits out, doesn't mean you're not drafting Caleb Williams at 1.
Yeah.
And so like
tough.
Abdul Carter, joking about going to the Eagles, doesn't play, you're like, do I not want to take the next best edge rusher on
Yeah.
my team? So puts teams in a weird spot. I don't know if there's any fix to it, but overall rankings for the positions, just generally, and I'll ask you guys what you thought. My biggest takeaway is overall, the strongest thing is running backs, in my opinion. I think the running back class is by far better than any position
It's
group.
stacked.
I think there's a few elite defensive ends and defensive tackles. We didn't get to see a lot of them at the combine, but I'd group the Mason Grahams of the world, the Abdul Carters, some of these guys in there. A few really good DBs, whether that's Manwari, Porter, Malachi Starks. I think the QB class is a lot worse than I thought.
Yeah, it's
I wanted to kind of sugarcoat it and say, oh, these are some starters in here. I think you're stretching to find 4 starting quarterbacks in that group, at least semi-soon. And honestly, the more I think about Shador, the less.
Yeah, I'm
likely
struggling
end.
to find 2.
I
Especially
don't
after the
know.
first couple years.
I don't know
Maybe
on
they'll
that one.
develop, but
And then wide receivers, I think, are extremely below average compared to what we've seen in prior years.
Oh, this is the
I
worst
didn't think
in a
Luther
long
Burden
time.
was fine, but there's like a couple I think could be really good. But compared to the last 2 classes of
Oh,
just
man, it's not
absolute
even-
studs, I don't think it's
yeah.
close. That was my big takeaways. I don't know if you guys had anything different.
nah, nothing crazy. For the draft, I think the combine should be, you can do whatever you want. The pro day should be like mandatory for every player.
It's tough too because all those are unofficial times though. Like they'll get 40s timed. They'll be scouts, but they're using the
I'm
scout.
saying, so
stuff.
they could say like you'll never put anything in a record book. It won't be official, but it's mandatory. You have to go to pro day. People have to see you do these drills.
Yeah, most of them do.
It'd be cool to have.
if you're
something like
healthy,
that.
yeah.
I'm saying it'd be cool to have some mandatory thing because it'll get really bad soon.
I
Like, if
guess.
this is going like downhill really bad. But yeah, I just thought as a whole this draft just feels weak to me all around. Outside the top 10 that picks are going to happen, maybe top like 15. I don't think there's going to be a lot of value like the last couple of years where you're getting cornerbacks that are starting all pros late in first rounds or quarterbacks that are later in the drafts or whatever's position. I just think this is one of the weaker drafts we've seen, unfortunately, but that's my take.
I also think it's a lot harder. It's going to be a lot harder for teams to evaluate talent now with NIL. And this is a bigger
That's
theory
true.
that I want to talk about more in the offseason. But it was really easy for teams like the Eagles pre-NIL to go Georgia and Alabama
Yep.
defense.
Yeah.
Just draft them. Literally, that's it. Because the backups are 5 stars and their backups are 5 stars, and they train everyone. Now everyone's pretty spread out everywhere, and it's much like if you look at the first round, there are players from every single team,
Everywhere,
like
yeah.
all over the
That's
place.
true.
Scouting becomes all that much more important. I think it's going to be less copy paste, blue blood programs coming
Yeah.
in, putting out the best
That's a
players.
good point.
It's gonna put a lot of pressure on scouting teams now to like really kind of lock in and be able to identify talent, and that's gonna translate. People can look good, like that dude from Thornton from Tennessee or whatever.
Yeah.
Like you can test off the charts, but you also have to like, okay, maybe caught your eye. Now let's like reflect the game footage and
See what he did,
and
yeah.
then
That'll be
see
tough.
like, okay, why did he only get 26 catches? Is it because he's can't get open, or is it because like just they weren't running
They threw
plays
the ball
for him?
13 times a game.
You know what I mean? Like, it's like you said, it's going to be a lot harder to identify talent. I think this running back class is like stupid deep though.
Me
Like
too.
I actually
It's
like
absurd.
I just keep looking. I'm like, dude,
My favorite part. of the
yeah,
draft.
no, I think all these guys could be really successful.
No, there's so many.
I still think there's only a couple receivers that are good, like you mentioned. What do you guys feel about Shador being kind of a head case in the team interviews?
I mean,
I've
already said my piece of
Well,
I think
I
he's
said-
going to drop off a cliff.
I have my theory that I gave out about. I think as long as he's just keeps his name relevant, I think in like, the more polarizing he is, the
Yeah.
more of like it entices people to kind of like. He's almost like bait, It's
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
like you just like you go after him
ESPN,
because like
ESPN,
Shador,
yeah.
Like he just keeps saying he's the best. Like
I think it's going to take a really bold GM to actually draft him. And he will get taken in the early first, but I'm starting to align a lot more with Ryan's draft day theory
What's gonna
on
do?
Shador. And I know we've
goes
mentioned this quite a few times, but yeah, he did not do any favors to himself this week, talking about how
He loves doing that.
He knows what he does, and I know it's his nature and all that. But if we're being honest, he's not Deion Sanders. Like I know it's his dad, but Deion Sanders was like almost immediately the best player on the football field.
Yeah, it was
well, there's
And
a
then
different level
when
of
play-
cockiness with Dion too.
Yeah.
Like he said, I'm the best, and he said I'm not doing the combine. Then he showed up in chains and like a cool suit, took that off, kept the chains on, put on cleats, ran a 4.24, and then took the cleats off and walked out the building.
I'm saying there's
Like-
a difference. Yeah.
Yeah, like he was cocky, but also he'd back it up. Shador is just like, I don't know.
We haven't seen anything
He's
crazy.
definitely polarizing.
The Shador Sanders
Nothing really-
propaganda is spread. Like
It's really
crazy.
good. It's
Like,
impressive.
the
It's smart.
propaganda machine
Made a lot
for
of money.
Shador is one of the craziest things I've ever seen.
It is crazy though because I saw today, like an hour before we started filming this, NFL posted their mock draft from one of their analysts, and it had like they only had like 5 numbers. It'd be like number 1, 3,
Sure.
16,
Yeah,
29,
like the sneak peek. or whatever.
and at 29, this was from NFL. They had Shador Sanders.
Oh my God, I would.
And I just thought of Ryan's draft day
It's-
theory about him sneaking,
Michael
like,
would
falling
love
down.
that.
Well, I really think there's probably like 4 teams in the league that would draft him.
Yeah.
Like there's like 4 programs, so it just depends on where they end up selecting players. I don't think there's too many teams itching for their GMs and coaches to attach their identity to him immediately,
That's
unless
true.
it's like necessary. But let us know what you think in the comments. Combine was interesting to say the least. Not a lot of
Yeah.
top end talent there, but we'll see over the pro days in the next coming weeks. It should be a good draft. I know draft's in
it'll be
April.
fun.
I'm getting ready for it. We'll see you on the next one.